Hatim,
Yes, Ali.
what do you prefer? Living in a rented house or to have your own house?
Well, honestly speaking, living in a rented house is much cheaper, but everyone wishes to have their own house, their dream house. So I'm like everybody else. I wish to have my own dream house as well.
Do you know why I ask you this question?
No, why?
Okay. We'll be back. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Chataway in UMMATI station. How is everybody doing? Hatim, how are you doing?
Alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, we're doing well. Thank you very much, Ali. And I think what we're talking about today is very important to every single individual, especially in the GCC. Having a house, a shelter over your roof, a home for your kids is important. And when it comes to finding a house, Ali, we have so many different questions. And we need an expert to tell us about, this issue. So who do we have as our guest today, Ali?
Okay, let me type his name here right now and then we'll be back. Here we go. So our guest for today is FAHAD Al-Ismaili. Who is FAHAD Al-Ismaili? FAHAD Al-Ismaili carries rich professional experience that extends to over 18 years in diversified real estate investment and development projects that covered many areas such as, now you listen to this, commercial and residential, tourism, leisure and hospitality, medical and healthcare developments, industrial plants and warehouse, and integrated petrol stations, mashallah. Being the founder of Tibyan Properties LLC, he leads a team of professionals that deliver professional services in the sector that ranges from simple brokerage services to large advisory and portfolio/asset management. FAHAD works closely with various individual and corporate funds that are diverse in their investments and create opportunities that generates optimum return on investment. Let us all welcome FAHAD Al-Ismaili. Assalamu alaikum, FAHAD.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Ali, and thank you, Hatim, for having me today with you in this very beautiful channel. And inshallah, we are going to have a very nice and fruitful discussion. And thank you as well for the nice introduction, Ali.
Oh, you're most welcome. In fact, that was sent by you. Come on, man. It's an honor. It's an honor to have you.
I didn't expect you to read it as it is. I thought that you were going to.
Welcome to Ali's world.
Yeah, indeed.
Now, Fahad, we'll dive into the topic immediately, inshallah. As you know, Fahad, one of the most important things to an individual is to have a home. But in the past few years, it has been challenging to find a home, a proper home, whether to construct or to buy, because of the cost that requires. So how can we start with the finances? How do we manage to get a home with the very limited resources that we have, Fahad?
All right. Of course, owning a home is one of the main fundamentals of social security.
Yes.
That is one of the very important factors that keeps a social network in secure format. However, as you said, there are costs associated with that. And owning the home in Oman in particular is Oman has one of the top percentages of home ownership by its nationals, that 80% of the Omanis are living in homes which are owned by them. So that is a very high percentage, and it's a very good percentage, irrespective of the the way of owning this home, whether it's through finance or through loans. But when it comes to home ownership, Oman is considered to be one of the top countries where its citizens owning their homes. Now, how do we, as Omanis, own homes in Oman? I'm going to simplify the answer in Oman itself, not in general, because every country has its own matrices. In Oman, of course, as you all know, that the government has been granting lands, free lands to the citizens for the past 50 years. Just recently, the law of lands has changed, where the land is granted not just like that. There are some criterias and there are some filters where lands are owned, are granted by the government. So that is the major factor. I mean, the first step towards owning a home is to own a land. Now, that if someone is willing to build or construct his own house, not to buy a house which is ready. And so there are these two routes. Owning a land from the government or getting that free land from the government helps a lot an individual to take the second step of constructing that land and building his house, whether it's through his own savings or through bank facilities and finance. And if someone is or couldn't have the opportunity to get that land and wants to go through the route of constructing his villa or his house, then he has to also purchase a land from the market and construct on it the villa that he wants or the house that of his dream. Now there is another route, which is buying a ready house, and that is also an easy and a quick and a straightforward solution for someone who do not want to go through the headache of construction, or someone who can't get that opportunity to own a land, or when that land which he was granted from the government, it could be used as a liquid. He can liquidate that land and sell it in the market and use that money as a down payment to purchase a house right away, and finance the remaining from the bank or from his savings if he has any savings. So there are many ways of owning houses in Oman. I think by digging more into the process through this chat, inshallah, we will be able to identify places where I will not recommend to touch, and also places where someone should consider when they're looking at purchasing a home or living in a home which is owned by them, not rented. Yeah.
So Fahad, based on what are these houses priced? I mean, why there are differences in prices?
See, no one controls prices or price index of real estate in the whole world.
Yes.
No one can control it. The prices of real estate is all based on supply and demand. And demand is the major factor in identifying the price index of real estate. According to the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, the RICS, a market value of any particular property is the price where the buyer and seller agree to and meet. That is market price. There is no other definition of market price. That is market price. And where do buyers and sellers meet? They meet at a price where the seller is willing to sell at that price and the buyer is willing to buy at that price. That is market price. Now, what makes the price go up or down? It's the supply and demand. As we all know, it's basic economics. When the supply is greater than demand, the prices goes down, and vice versa. When the demand is greater than supply, the prices goes up. So this is what identifies. Now, there are some locations in this in the central in the city centers, in the places where all government infrastructure, roads, facilities, water, electricity, landscape, the whole infrastructure is built and ready and urbanized. Those areas, maybe they have preferences, therefore the demand increases over there. And as we go to the basic economic formula, demand increases over there, therefore the price starts to hike. So there's nothing called real estate prices are high or real estate prices is low. It all depends on the supply and demand ratio.
Fahad, sorry to interrupt you, but I heard when you said in the beginning that when it comes to granting lands to the citizens, you know, it saves a lot of money. It saves you 50% of the cost when you get the grant from the government for the land. And then you only have to finance the construction. But as you know, Omanis are very social. They live in communities. So you want to live next to your family. But sometimes you receive a land or a grant from the government where it is far from the area of your tribe or your society. Then it forces you to go and venture to buy a property or a land to build your dream house in a community where you're comfortable to live in. Now, this brings me to the idea of you know, the prices being rise. You said the demand and the supply, but at the same times, sometimes huge projects being constructed in an area, or the plan for huge projects like a road, an express road, or a hotel, or a plant, or something like that, that makes the demand go high. Everybody wants to go and you know, buy a land or a property in that land, in that area, and it raises the prices. So do you advise people, you know, to venture into buying properties in these areas where there is huge projects, or they should wait first and, you know, maybe look for somewhere else where it is reasonable within their budget?
Yes, Hatem, it's a really good question, and I think we need to differentiate between two types of people. There are people who are looking to accommodate themselves and their families into a home.
Yes.
That part, or these people, they are looking at all the mechanisms and the ways to reach that goal of owning a house. That is their ultimate goal. On the other hand, we know there are another type of real estate people who are interested in real estate, and they are called investors or speculators. So they
Yes.
will go into areas and buy lands not for the purpose of construction or living in it, for the purpose of you know, speculating the market and then make some profit out of it. So in the market we have investors and we have end users. Now,
Yes.
end users will always suffer if they come in late into a specific area, because once demand starts to come into that area, the infrastructure starts to come, then the prices will definitely go up. So the more or the earlier they arrange their entry into the market, into taking those steps to build their home, then the better it is. The land which was granted to them by the government, if they had it, in the past it used to be in good locations. I mean, I'm talking about 20 years and before 20 years and before. So let's say from the 80s,
Yes.
70s, all those lands which were granted were in places where people could live and build their homes, etc., etc. And then more people started to demand lands. And as you know, the population in Oman is very young. So every year, the government is receiving not less than 50,000 or more than 50,000 new entries to the waiting list. So what happened? The pressure on demand for land from the government started to become higher. Then the government had to master plan and create new areas, and those areas were in remote. Many of them were in remote areas where there is no services and no facilities until today. So was the problem solved? No, it wasn't solved. Therefore, what happened? All those lands, or most of them, started to be lands of speculation, and people started to trade in them, buying and selling, buying and selling. The government recently realized that that practice is not going to solve the problem, and it's not going to help the people. Therefore, this new law of granting lands to those who are willing to build their homes for a family. And the purpose of granting the land is purposely to construct. If you don't want to construct, you're not going to be granted that land. Therefore, I think this is a good way, and it's a good. Even though many will think otherwise, and because every individual looks into the matter from his own point of view. But I'm sure that the government, when they look into things, they look into it from a very higher scale, and not from a micro level. They look into the whole. Yes. Therefore, the speculations will still continue to be there. I think that the land trading will not be disturbed. At the same time, the construction industry also is going to help. What I want to point out over here is when going into this marathon, I would say, of owning a house or building your own house, a major factor is the banking facilities or the financial, the cost of finance, whether it's interest or it's profits. I think the cost of finance in Oman, it's extremely high. And I've said it many times, and I'm saying it again. The cost of finance in Oman is very, very high. Basically, we are talking around 5 to 6%. That is the cost of finance for real estate in Oman, plus other expenses that with it.
While internationally, maybe it's 2%.
Yes, not internationally, even regionally. If we go into the regional market, I think maximum is 3.2, and of course in some international and Western cities and markets, it goes all the way to 2%, 2.2%, and the banking sector is, of course, they are working on volumes, but at the same time, we can always work on our scale. Now, even when someone goes to the extent or to the direction of purchasing a ready house, usually when someone buys a house, he will buy it from a developer. That developer most probably took finance to do the. And now you have the VAT also when it comes to. So the cost of finance and the VAT and all the other expenses which was incurred by the developer, it will all be piled up, and the end user will be bearing all that cost at the end. And on top, not to forget also the developer's profit.
Fahad, with all this news, it doesn't seem that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
No, of course.
You've given us all the bad news.
So give us a solution now. If we want to avoid the 5% and all that, where shall we go?
See, avoiding VAT is something that no one can do. It's a blockchain. VAT is some sort of a blockchain where you cannot, no one can get away from it. However, I think trying to purchase a house, or if you already house from a strong developer who works on economies of scale, that will be, I mean, that will help the developer reduce his prices. That is number one. Another solution is that maybe you can look into purchasing a house on an off-plan basis, where you pay a small down payment and then you pay the stage payment throughout the construction period, and then at the end you can finance that, let's say 40%, 50%, whatever it is. I think one of the major problems when it comes to finance is that we finance 80% of the project value, or the villa value, or the property value. Now, if you finance, or if your debt ratio is around 40% or 50% maximum, I don't think it's harm or it's bad to take the finance at 5%. But when it comes to 80%, and sometimes, and it happens, and this is a fact in the market, that some people try their best to inflate the valuation to 100% plus 20%, so they can obtain and take the finance full 100% from the bank. They are doing this, and they think that they are doing a right move, or they are happy that they were not required to put the 20% in cash as a down payment. But at the end, they are financing the whole 100% at a very high rate. Now what happens is that over time, over 20 years of the loan period, if you calculate that cost of finance, it was going to be better, if you do the math, to reduce your debt ratio and your exposure to the bank. So these are things that people don't really look into when it comes to. But the problem is, Hatim and Ali, is that someone wants to own a house, and we have also a taboo. What is it? We have a problem, that a social problem also here in Oman, that if you don't own your house, or if you live in a house which is not owned, then you did not achieve, or you're not. I mean, there is this.
You can't even tell someone that I'm living in a rented house.
I am living in a rented house, and I've been living in a rented house all my life. I bought houses, I sold houses, I constructed houses, but until today, I'm living in a rented house.
Wow, subhanallah.
So
I think Fahad, that makes the three of us.
Yes, we confess. I got a question by Maher Lamki. Ahlan Maher, good that you're watching the show, man. What are the points that developers should think about in return to sell faster?
What can you repeat the question?
What are the points that the developer should think about? In return to sell faster.
I would say a lot of things with regards to quality, delivery on time, blah 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 blah. But the only factor, or the most effective solution, and the straightforward tool that will help any developer sell fast is the price. So the more you can reduce your price, of course, without compensating or compromising on the quality, you'll be able to sell fast. Because the more you reduce your price, the more you expand your buyer's network. And once your buyer network expands and becomes larger, then you'll be able to definitely create one buyer who will be able to take your villa or your property.
Fahad, is it advisable to, if someone wants to buy a house, a villa, to start from buying a flat, an apartment, and then slowly, maybe gradually, he can go to the villas, or that's not advisable?
Yes, yes, I advised actually one of my friends to do this. He explained to me his situation. Basically, he's receiving a good pay from the company he works for, but that company, because it's an SME, it is not registered with the banks for him to get a housing loan. So,
Yes.
because for a bank to approve any company to give their employees housing loans, that company should meet a lot of criteria. So most of the SMEs, even though this guy, his salary was almost 4,000 riyals a month.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah.
He works for a very reputable law firm. So, and he is a lawyer. He's a commercial lawyer himself. So, anyways, what happened is that I advised him to buy 2 apartments on an off-plan basis. So basically, from salary, he was able to pay to the developer over a period of 3 years the cost of 2 apartments.
MashaAllah.
Each apartment is around 50,000 riyals. All right. So after 3 years, the both apartments became owned by him. So he was the owner of, without any loans and without also putting pressure on his on himself to arrange 100,000 riyals at once. So it was paid over 3 or 4 years. Now what happened after that period, he was able to sell those 2 apartments and he received 100,000 riyals in cash. And what happened with that 100,000? He constructed a villa on the land which was granted to him by the government.
MashaAllah.
So this is how he was able to own his house without any loans and without any finance by doing this technique. So I would really recommend and advise anyone who wants to buy a villa that he can consider this kind of a route where, because when you buy an apartment off plan, it's usually 24 to 36 months until you during that period, if you have any savings, if you have any assets that you don't feel that they are worth keeping, like lands in very far locations, that, or maybe any assets, any cars that you don't use, anything, any expensive watch that you don't want to wear. You can liquidate all that and try your best to buy an apartment or 2 over a period of time without going into the bank. And then after that period of time, you are going to have that amount of cash, which is there for you to move on.
Did you hear that, Hatim? Thanks for the advice, brother. I think we should work on that.
Well, I think the bankers will not be happy today hearing all of this from Fahad.
Maybe they will reduce to 4 or 3%. Who knows? And now, by the way, I think it's a trend here in Oman to live in apartments, huh? Not like before.
Well, it's happening because, especially in Muscat, the cost of land is high. Cost of also buying a ready house is high. So people would go into apartments, especially in the beginning of their lives. If they're newly met or they have a small family, they go into apartments, and some of them go into apartments for the same purpose, or for that after some time, after 5 years or after 6 years, they sell the apartment and move into a villa, or that's the time where they'll be able to save that amount of money to.
Now, let me ask you something, Fahad. We spoke about in the cost of constructing your own house in the beginning, that it's a burden. And we also spoke about the high demand from on the ministry to supply all these lands or to grant these lands. Now, can we say that it might be a solution for the problem where people can be granted a land of 300 instead of 600 square meter, which is quite enough to build a home? And then also the size of the villas that we built, most of the time we don't need that space. So if we shrink down the size of the houses to accommodate our needs, that will even make it, you know, cheaper for us to construct a house. So instead of spending 100,000 for a villa, you might spend 50,000 or 60,000, which is far more comfortable to pay back through the bank with the 5%, as I don't think the 5% will go to 2% till the day of judgment. So maybe it would be also comfortable. And also to look at the idea of shortening the period of paying back. Instead of 20 years, make it 10 years. Instead of 10 years, make it 5 years if you can afford. So there are maybe other solutions where people can look into and not go through the traditional way. Because, you know, when you want to buy a house or construct a house, everybody in your family becomes an expert. And everybody advises you what to do, while they have no idea what is the right way to do. So I think people like you, Fahad, they should provide services to people and advise them on the economical way to do things instead of just, you know, burdening themselves with a huge loan. Sorry, bankers, sorry.
Well, of course, we don't want to make anyone angry today. At the end, we still need the banks to run business. Anyways, Hatem, what you have pointed out is something. I mean, it's a theoretical discussion that, or it's very debatable. I think it holds a lot of views and a lot of give and take when it comes
Yes.
to discussing this very sensitive matter. And honestly, anything could be right, and also everything could be wrong. Therefore,
Yes.
The regulator and the legislator, they look into things maybe in more diversified way, and they look into things and they look into the implications also of every decision that they make. So I think I don't want to touch or give an opinion on whether 300 square meter land is enough or not, but I think that the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning are now also going into providing integrated residential complexes. So instead of
Yes.
granting a land, you can buy a real estate unit, whether it's a villa or it's a townhouse or it's a semi-detached villa or an apartment from the private sector developers. But those private sector developers are selling those units in association with the Ministry of Housing. So the Ministry of Housing is granting the land, and those developers, they come and they develop a very nice integrated housing communities and integrated real estate residential assets or residential properties, where you can go and buy from directly a real estate unit instead of getting a land for grant from the government. So the real estate unit will be subsidized with the land value which you are supposed to get it from the government. So let's say, for example, if the
Yes.
land value is 5,000 riyals or 6,000 riyals, then and the villa which you want to purchase from these developments are 80,000 riyals, let's say, for example, then your price is already reduced by 5,000 or 6,000 riyals. So you need to pay only 74,000 riyals to buy that villa. And the first project is already there out in the market. It is in Barka or Rumeis. It's called Hayy al-Nasim. And this project with the Minister of Housing is called Suruh. And then Suruh will have different categories or different location. And the first location is Hayy al-Nasim in Barka. So I think that will be a good also direction for people who would like to own a villa, and it will give that variety of villas on 300 square meter land or 400 square meter land. So instead of me waiting for the land or buying a land which is expensive in the market, I can go directly and buy from these projects which are regulated and monitored also by the government. Yeah.
So
Yes.
I think for some people, don't you think that area will be a little bit far? Because people would consider that like the last point of Muscat, and I don't want to go that far.
Well, for the people of Muscat, maybe, but for the people of Barka, no, and for the people of South Al Batna region, no. In fact, that will bring them closer to Muscat.
Tell us about this new initiative that you have started, Go Lands, because we're talking about lands now. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Go Lands, it's alhamdulillah. The idea came from the matter of, or the saying, which says the best investment on land is land. So, so lands helps everyone to do that investment. It's basically a marketplace for lands. It's a dedicated application for lands only. It's a land marketplace. It's not having any villas, any apartments. There's no rentals. There's no commercials. It's purely lands.
Is there a reason why you made it only for lands?
Well, I'm a person who believes in specialization, and I wanted to build something which is specialized. And I saw that there is a gap in the market. It is the only specialized application in the market for land transaction or land dealing. All the other applications are having rentals and sales of villas and apartments. So we wanted to specialize. And after looking into the statistics of the sales transactions in Oman, we saw that around 70% to 75% of the transactions in Oman are land transactions. Only up to 30% only are constructed properties when it comes to sales. So, and there is no such application that serves that major portion of the market. So this is where I was able to identify this gap in the market. I mean, being a realtor and as a working in the real estate sector, I was able to see this gap, and using technology nowadays and associating with the right partners to build this prop tech solution. Alhamdulillah, in the first month of from the launch of Go Lands, we were able to receive more than 25,000 downloads of the application.
MashaAllah.
We have around 10,000 registered users out of the 25,000 downloads. And I was just looking into the app just before the chat we're having now. I think we are at around just below 4,000 lands which listed in the application. So if you would like to buy a land, GoLands will give you the all the options in the market, or most of the options in the market. In fact, it could help you also to be sure of the land value. You know, because many people, when they buy a land, sometimes they buy a land at an inflated rate because they don't know. But now when you go to GoLands, for example, and you want to buy a land, let's say, for example, in Advisable or Ghubra, for example. So when you go there, you'll see many lands which are listed in the map. So you'll see this land is at 100,000, 90,000, 95,000, and you'll see one land at 150,000. So immediately you'll be able to know that that person is inflating his rate or is hiking his rates for nothing, unless if he has a valid reason to hike his rate. Like if there is an oil well under his land, yeah, maybe.
So and everything is
Fahad,
done. Yeah, go ahead, Hadim.
sorry, Fahad, who can upload the information of the lands? The sellers or the brokers? Because in the
Anyone.
past, when we wanted to buy a land, we deal directly with the owner. But recently, everybody became a broker. Even your colleagues in the office, they try and sell lands to you. So it became very challenging. Whom to trust? Where can I buy the land with the proper, rate? So how does GoLand work?
Well, GoLands allow both landowners and brokers to upload the land. However, it will specify there. I mean, when you upload the land, you need to specify there whether you are the owner or the owner representative. So you'll be able to know that you are with who. That is number one. Number two, irrespective of buying from an owner or a broker, by using GoLands, you'll be able to reach to the proper value of a particular property. And we are building right now a tool inside the app where it reads the transactions which are happening and the listings which are happening. So eventually, inshallah, after maybe inshallah, when the application has a lot and thousands of lands, the application will automatically be able to give you an indicative rate of the market or the area you're looking for. Also, we are trying that in the near future, inshallah, that when you want to upload a land, it will give you a range where you cannot go above that range, and you cannot also go below that. The location, the lands are ranging from this much to this much. Therefore, that is your brackets where you can place your price. So there are a lot of things that we are trying to do. We are trying to use a lot of artificial intelligence to create also a more sustainable market, land market, inshallah.
Can you actually make payment through GoLand if you want to buy?
No, at the moment, no, but it is in our plan to have it in the future.
Inshallah.
And Fahad, sometimes people who decide to buy, a house, these houses mostly are built in a commercial way. So as a simple person who is just trying to find a home, how can he evaluate the house in such a way that it is safe, it is built properly, he will not have future problems, no cheap materials have been used? Because you hear people moving to a new house and then suddenly there's cracks, there's water leaks, there's all sorts of problems. And this has become a challenge that you're very happy that you're moving into your dream house, and suddenly the dream house becomes a nightmare.
Yes.
So what should they do?
Yeah. Number one, when you want to buy a house, you need to look into the history of the developer. That is number one. Now, the developer could be a company that has a reputation in the market, or it could be an individual that you know. So basically, if you're buying a house from someone that you know that he built this house for his personal use, let's say, for example, and he used the best quality in that, then you trust going ahead with this purchase. And by looking into the developer, that is rule number one. Number two, you should always try to get a snag report or a snagging report from an engineering consultant. So you go to an architect or engineering consultant, a construction consultant, or a quantity surveyor or whatever, and you try and you ask them for a snagging report where they come and snag the villa and they do a full inspection of the villa and they give you their technical evaluation. And then step number 3, you take the recommendation or the assessment from a certified real estate valuation company or real estate valuer, and who will also assess the property from the market point of view. So basically, by following these 3 steps, number 1 is knowing who you're buying from. Number 2 is taking the technical advice. Number 3, taking the market advice. If you do those 3 steps, I think you'll be in safe hands and you'll be able to do your investment without any hesitation.
So what do I need to consider? Let's say if I want to invest, maybe now we're moving to the investment part. If I want to invest in an apartment, what are the things that I need to consider? Like maybe example, location, for example, or parking lot?
See, Ali, there's a saying in the real estate sector that when buying any property, number 1, you need to look into location. Number 2, location. Number 3, location. So it's all about the location.
Mm-hmm.
A good location will always pay back. Will always be a solid investment. That is number 1. Number 2, you need to look into all the facilities when you buy an apartment, the facilities and the amenities which the project contains.
Mm-hmm.
Most important thing is the car parks. You need to have your own dedicated, shaded car park. You need to have also, there are many amenities that makes your living in an apartment easier and happier. Let's say, for example, one of the things, garbage chutes. You know, the garbage chute where you shoot your garbage from whatever floor you're in. That is very important, and it makes your life also very easy when living in an apartment. Because if you had to come down with your garbage bag, time you need to, that is a problem. Many people don't pay attention to this very small feature, but it's very, very important when it comes to living in an apartment. I lived in an apartment a few years ago, and we had this garbage chute. Honestly, it made our life easy. Of course, there are other amenities like the swimming pool, the gym facilities, the security systems. Also, you need to look into if you're buying an apartment on an off-plan basis, you need to look into the space of the apartment and the space of the bedrooms and the living rooms. You know, because many developers, unfortunately, when they put the layout in the brochure, they don't scale it properly. So basically, they put the bed in the layout inside the bedroom, and they make the bed a little bit small, so the room can look bigger.
Okay.
So you need to know exactly the dimensions of the room. How many meters by how many meters? It's not about you see the picture of the bed and then you feel that the room is big. You have a lot of empty area to enjoy. So you need to really look into that. And of course, going again back to the developer and the history of the developer, I think it's very important also to buy an apartment from a developer who has very good track record in the business.
Fahad, I have noticed personally recently when I was looking for a house to buy that the designs of the house, they are not built I'm not generalizing, but I'm saying the majority, they are not built in such a way to accommodate Omani families. I give you an example. In Omani homes, you have like the living room and the family living room. You have a dedicated kitchen. You don't have like a studio type, and you know, maybe some people prefer that, but the majority of families, they they want, let's say, the toilet in the bedroom and not outside. You know, so you find these houses. They yes, they are in reasonable prices. They're built in very good quality, but they are not built for the Omani market. I don't know if you notice this trend.
Well, Hatem, you'll be surprised that the mentality and the mindset of Omanis has changed. You cannot.
You're old school, Hatim. You're old school.
So, I've noticed that. I mean, it's very simple. If the majority are demanding the traditional way of homes, then the developers were going to construct according to the majority demand. Because when
Yes.
they do plan and develop a real estate project, they will always do it for one purpose only, is to sell it at the end. So
Yeah.
if they're not
Yes.
right product in the market, it means that they don't know what they're doing. So the right market, the right product in the market nowadays is the modern look, the let's say the westernized open spaces, and I think this is what's moving in the market nowadays. I mean, I remember that if any villa which did not have a guest bedroom in the ground floor, it will never sell. This was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
pe-
Yes.
people are asking to knock off the guest bedroom
And
to
knock off the
increase-
guest himself.
and increase the living area. You got what I mean? So I think lifestyle has changed, mindsets has changed. Yes, of course, there are still many people who will demand villas which are having, a majlis for men and another sitting area for women and guest bedroom and all that and privacy, blah blah blah. Yes, that is still there.
Yes.
But most of them, they will definitely choose to build and construct their own homes according to their specific desires.
What about foreign investors? Is Oman open for them to invest in real estate?
Well, yes and no at the same time. I mean, in the financial midterm Tawazun plan, the mid financial plan, 2020 to 2024. It's a 5-year midterm financial plan. It's called Tawazun. It had 4 real estate incentives. One of them is to allow foreign investors to buy real estate in non-ITC market. ITC, which is the integrated tourism complexes, like Al Moj and Muscat Hills.
Muscat Hills.
But unfortunately, the what do you call the rules and regulations and the terms and conditions to buy a real estate asset in those areas which are outside the ITCs are almost impossible for anyone to accept or any foreigner to accept. Therefore, I think 2 years has passed, or one and a half passed since this law came out, and I don't think that there is any single transaction happened for a foreign investor to buy in this format.
So
So
what would attract them in this case to invest?
definitely the government needs to place more ease and to relax this terms and conditions. It has to be relaxed. When foreign investment in real estate is not about buying the real estate unit only, it's a full economical cycle. Let's say, for example, someone who sits, or a British family who would like to buy, let's say, an apartment in Oman and come and relocate to Oman, whether for a job or business or whatever. Uh, that purchase of a property is one thing. Many other economical factors comes with it. You have schooling for the kids, you have healthcare, insurance, cars, the groceries, coffee shops. That is more demand coming into the country. That is more purchasing power coming into the country. It's not only about buying that real estate unit. It's the whole economical cycle that comes with it. So the more the government will ease this, everyone will benefit. More people will come into the country. That small guy who opened a small karak tea joint will sell more tea.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
People will come, purchasing power is going to increase, and the market also will start having its demand. And when demand increases, of course, the prices also increases. Cash flow are circulated in the market, but even though the price will increase, you won't feel it because the economy is strong. So yes, I am paying 1 real now for my cup of tea, but at the same time, I am making two times or three times what I used to make before the economy becomes stronger. So I think the allowing foreign investors to buy real estate is one of the doors that should be opened into a healthier economy.
So you being in the real estate business, can you actually go and consult, the government or the personnel who are who care about this? So do you actually go and talk to them?
authorities, yeah.
The authorities.
Yeah.
Do you go and talk
Yeah.
to them?
In fact, the authorities they talk to us. They call us, and we go together to workshops, and through the Oman Real Estate Association and the Real Estate Committee in Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and we write our recommendations and we discuss all that. But as I said during the talk, at the end, everyone will look from his angle and from where he's standing. The government, they look from very high angle. They're like the eagle. They look from very high landscape and they see everything. So they are able to pinpoint
the helicopter view.
the helicopter view, exactly. So basically, we cannot say that what we are recommending is right 100%, because it might have a negative impact on another field where we cannot see.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, today, if the government opens the door fully for real estate investment in Oman, what will happen if the country is not ready to welcome that pressure on the common services and the general services? You got what I mean? Yeah. So what will happen if the foreigners come and squeeze the locals in jobs? So I'm sure that the government, when they look into things, they look into from a very high level, and they see everything, and they are able to fill in the gaps and pinpoint the pains and make sure that they are resolved. However, we shouldn't also stop in giving our recommendations and what we think, because all that information help in building the full picture.
Fahad, what are some of the things that affect the real estate industry? I mean, for example, the past 2 years, the coronavirus pandemic, did it affect the real estate industry? Let's say in 2011, when there was a huge jump in employment, a lot of people got employed. Did it affect the real estate industry and so on, or it remains, you know, depending on the demand and supply, the normal demand and supply that is going on?
Yeah, Hatem, the real estate industry is very strong and it's very huge, but at the same time, it's very sensitive. Why it is sensitive? Because it's related to, or it's directly linked to emotions and perceptions, and also at the same time, um, fear and panic. So, say today, we know that there's a pandemic. Alhamdulillah, we are at the end of the pandemic. But at the same time, the oil prices is over $120 a barrel. That is very good news. So you can see people are looking for investment opportunities. They're looking for good real estate to invest. They're looking. No one is selling at a low rate. But when the oil prices goes down, and you don't see that confidence in the market. It's the same thing what happened back in 2008 when the Lehman Brothers financial crisis happened, and it was a financial crisis that directly related to the real estate mortgages. So that was a real financial crisis in real estate, which led also to a huge drop in the oil prices. It went all the way down to $27. Real estate was in its peak of speculations. The prices went down by maybe 60 or 70%. That was wrong investments, or it was not real values. In 2011, many employment happened. Of course, that means a lot of apartments are being rented, and more people flood into the market. Therefore, the demand started to increase. So it started to become, and the oil prices also was increasing all the way till 2014. 2014 again, oil prices started to drop slowly until it went to very low rates. Plus, the pandemic started in 2020, where also made things worse. So the real estate, as I said, is a very strong sector. Owning a real estate makes you confident. Owning your house also makes you confident, but it's very sensitive at the same time. So it should be, if you are an investor in the market, not an end user. If you are an investor, you should also predict and expect any loss as any normal business. So it's not that you are into real estate that you're not going to lose. I mean, myself personally, 1 year ago, I did some investments in the real estate sector. I bought some lands here and there. I lost maybe 10% of what I have invested.
Oh.
You know, it happens. You win here, you lose here, you gain here, you lose here. It happens here and there. But you need to accept the fact that this is a normal business. It's like stock market. It's like a restaurant. It's like anything. In that real estate, there's no loss in real estate. There are losses in real estate. It could be big, it could be small, and you can also gain a lot of profits. So yeah, you need to be very careful, and you need to read what's happening around with the market.
Fahad, let's say I have nothing, no knowledge, no skills about real estate, and I want to start a business in real estate field. Are there any places where I can learn the business, like institutes or real estate consultancy companies? How?
Well, real estate education in Oman is not advanced, I would say. There are some institutes that teaches you ethics of brokerage, but it doesn't
That's not enough.
teach you. Not enough, yeah, of course, that's not enough. However, I think real estate is best learned by practice. That's the way to learn real estate business, and passion is important, of course, and real estate also requires a lot of patience. You need to be very patient. It's good money in real estate, but it's not easy money like many people think. It's not easy money. People think it's just easy, you know, I did deal here and there. Yeah, it could be a beginner's luck. It could be one hit on the jackpot, but there is no easy money in real estate, and it's not easy to make money in real estate. You need to be patient, and you need to also look into the opportunities very carefully. One of the easy ways to enter the real estate market is through brokerage. Because in brokerage, all what you need is your effort and network. This is what you need, your effort and network. Effort is there with you. Network, you can always build it through marketing. And you know, marketing nowadays also it's cheaper than previously, where you had to, you know, the classic media.
Social media? Because of social media?
Classic media previously was very expensive because it's printable and has a lot of cost. But nowadays,
Yes.
social media or the Google SEOs and all that, and WhatsApp, it's cost effective, and you can do a lot and reach to many people in less investments.
Fahad, what about social media influencers?
Well,
they also play a big role in marketing for the real estate.
Well, see, there are a lot of people, especially some real estate agents and brokers. They were talking about this negatively, honestly, about the social. But honestly, to me, I think that social media influencers are another tool of marketing that you should utilize. So
Yes.
I don't see. I mean, some people were calling to stop social media influencers from real estate marketing. They can do
Yes.
marketing for it, but not real estate, because they can influence people to go and buy a property which is not worth. But honestly, I think that social media influencers are just another tool and another platform to use in order to reach to the audience that you. It's most important thing when it comes to picking the social media influencer for your project is to know who are the audience of that.
Yes.
If the influencer is
About food.
having whom are all women, your product is for men, then you're not right. Or if your social media influencer is followed and the whole audience are SMEs and people who can afford you know, small investments, and you're trying to sell luxury real estate, how can you that is not your audience. So you need to pick your
Yes.
social media influencer carefully.
You're absolutely right. I think, Fahad, we don't want to keep you until midnight. You're a very busy man, but I'm sure we covered a lot of useful information for the common man who wants to have a home. Would you like to add anything before we wrap up today's show?
I just wanted to say that the invoice is counting. The more I so you're going to get the invoice tomorrow morning. I don't mind staying up to 12 midnight.
we got free consultation today from you.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Good, and thank you very much. And I think your audience also deserve the best. And inshallah, I was able to give whatever I was able to in terms of real estate knowledge. And of course, I'm always available for any consultancy, any advice. I do a lot of knowledge sharing in my Instagram page. I do سوالف عقارية, it's a small real estate talk that I do once a month. And a lot of people, they
Yes.
come and they ask questions, and people can benefit from that. And I welcome any sort of communication.
And you're starting your podcast as well.
Yes, but this podcast is going to be a little bit specialized, very specialized in real estate. And the first episode, inshallah, will be out this week, inshallah.
Inshallah, we're looking
Inshallah,
forward into it.
inshallah,
And Fahad, if you can also give me whatever contact information that you want me to share in the description, so people can come back to you if they require any information.
Just share my Instagram and Twitter account,
Okay.
which is FAHAD Al-Ismaili. It's one word, FAHAD Al-Ismaili.
Fahad Al-Ismaili. Inshallah. Thank you so much, Fahad. And inshallah, we will be in touch again. And if there's a continuation for this episode, why not, man? Why not? Until we have our own houses. Inshallah.
Is about to leave the club. Yani. He said that he's looking for a house to buy.
Someone is going to leave the club.
Yeah, very soon.
Very soon.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Inshallah. Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Fahad. Take
All the best. Thank you again for hosting me. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Most
shukran.
welcome.
Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum.
MashaAllah. And lots of information that maybe things that we didn't know about, building a house or owning, or investing in it.
Yeah.
It's always good to have someone to talk to and get information from. Not anybody who
Someone
pretend to know about houses.
Someone specialized. And I think from time to time, Ali, it's healthy to have serious discussions on our show, to have people who are specialized, who can produce information and data.
We're always serious, man. We're always serious. What are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
Oh man. Yeah. So inshallah, until we meet again, please subscribe, like, share, and we'll meet again next week, inshallah, with a new guest. Until then, Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.